we go back to our buddies Marty and Vinny, and you know, obviously awesome players, right? You know, in my opinion, both Hall of Fame players.
Yeah.
And but they're different. I think you'll have the same answer as me about who would you pick in a shootout.
Well, that's a good one, because the shootout definitely came into to play when you know I was coming in, and it just kind of started really.
Right.
So I got to see, but I got to see Marty score some pretty cool shootout goals. That one, you know, I don't know if you were playing with him originally when he went that one backwards or whatever.
No, that was just after I was done. Yeah, it took him a year to figure it out.
Yeah, and then he ended up doing that a couple times, playing on our team. So I'd say Marty, just for the flair, the effect. Vinny was actually really good in shootouts. He was one of those guys that.
Well, he wasn't at the beginning. Let me tell you that.
No, but he got better, and you know, he was more of just, he had such a great release and a great shot. But I think from a crowd perspective, Marty had a couple tricks up his sleeve. So I'd probably go with
Marty. Brings in the money, for sure.
Yeah,
and Vinny, I mean, I don't know how many breakaways he got. Like I've never seen a guy get more breakaways. And I mean, he'd have 500 plus goals if he buried all his breakaways. For sure. But he had a lot of breakaways.
Yeah.
But he did get better. I will say you're right. He did get better in the shootouts. He was a little shaky at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and for us, I think Richie was at the big, like, he was the first guy that seemed to score every time for us.
Yeah.
You know, there is that shootout specialist, which, geez, now it's you need it, right? Like it wins you games.
I mean, it was kind of like, you know, a joke at the beginning. Well, this guy's scoring all these shootout goals, but now, I mean, we've seen teams miss the playoffs by 1 or 2 points and some shootouts. So, okay. So that was a good question. How about your favorite road city? I know you played in the league for a long time, played in a lot of great older rinks as well. So what was your favorite road city?
I did. I almost got to all the original sixes except for Detroit. I was a couple years late on that to go to the Olympia. So I mean, as you know, every city's got something good about it, right? There's always, you can find something. I don't know. I mean, I guess I always liked Boston, to be honest with you. I thought that, you know, the fans are crazy. There's no doubt. But just the downtown area, walk around the park, and I enjoyed Boston a lot. The restaurants were awesome. I was fortunate enough to play there for a cup of coffee and have, you know, understand what it was like to be a Bruin and how great it was. So for me, it's probably Boston.
I'd say for me, probably there's a few. It's tough to just pick one, but I'd say, you know, I've got to play in the playoffs, especially in Montreal, and the buzz around that city when you're there, and, you know, they have a good team, and the excitement, it's just second to none. I mean, the way the stands are at the Bell Center, you know, obviously I didn't get to play in the old building, but the Bell Center's fantastic atmosphere. I love, you know, you always have fun coming home playing in Toronto. You have, you know, a bunch of friends and family there. But I've always just, you know, especially playing a few, you know, playoff series in Montreal, that place is electric when it gets going. So I'd probably say Montreal.
And it's almost like you're in a different world a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, but it is a great spot. It's an awesome hockey town. You know, I didn't have a lot of playoff success there, to be honest with you. We got killed.
They were pretty good.
You know, and whether it was, you know, the old building or the new building, but we did beat them on our little run to the Cup. That was the first time that I'd ever won a playoff series against Montreal, and I think I had 6 or 7 of them. So, but I do like Montreal. Well, Stammer, you know, the both of us are from the Ontario area. You know, you being from just outside of Toronto, me being from Hamilton, which is, you know, less than an hour away. But growing up, I'm sure you were a Leaf fan, just like I was. And who was your favorite player?
Well, I'd say obviously for sure, growing up a diehard Leaf fan. My dad was the one who introduced me to the game. He was a big Leaf fan. His favorite player was Wendell Clark. So
Yeah.
I wore 17 as a kid growing up, the early stages, and then kind of away from the Leafs. Joe Sakic and Steve Yzerman were kind of two guys that
Right.
I really enjoyed watching. Wore number 19 after that because of those two. So it was pretty crazy to come to Tampa and then have Steve Yzerman become your general manager. But it was great. I mean, my dad loved the game. He'd watch the game. He'd have his favorite players. He'd probably make up some stories about how many pucks they shot when they were a kid, and I'd go do that in the garage, or how many squats they were doing, and I'd follow suit. So, but
they was telling you how many bales of hay that Wendell could throw out.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of funny that the day I was born, I think the Leafs beat St. Louis, and Wendell had a hat trick or something, and my dad had a little miniature ticket stub made on February 7th, 1990. So I think he still has it. So that was cool.
Right. So you were too young in our little runs in Toronto in the
93. I was 3 years old. So I mean, I'm sure I was watching the games. I don't quite remember.
Your dad was watching Wendell and us play. Yeah. Well, that was a good one. I'll tell you that. Wendell is a super guy. I'm sure you've met him.
Oh, for sure.
Down the road. And I mean, I was scared like hell to play against him, And then when I got on his team, I realized why. But he was an awesome guy, really awesome guy. So, for me, I guess it's the next generation behind that. Lanny McDonald, Daryl Sittler era. So, obviously, I think Daryl Sittler was the guy that I watched. It was every Saturday night where sit down and watch Hockey Night in Canada, and Daryl Sittler was my guy. So, and again, we're lucky enough we got to meet these people, right?
Yeah.
So, I met Daryl, and I know him well. I mean, I've talked to him many times, and I guess it's a little embarrassing for him that I say to him that you were my idol. But growing up, we all watched hockey, and we all got favorite people.
No, you know what? It's crazy how small the hockey world is. So it's great for sure.
The next question that they wanted us to talk about is what we would have been if we weren't professional hockey players. And to be honest with you, I never even thought about it. Right? Like I don't know if you're the same.
Yeah.
That was it. That's what I was going to be. I think more importantly for me, I did not want to go back to the steel mill. Right. All my friends went to Stelco. They were in the steel mill in Hamilton.
Growing up in Hamilton, yeah.
That was more for me. It was more about what I didn't want to be,
right? And
to work hard enough to stay in the NHL. It wasn't really. I never really thought about any other profession. I felt like I did not want to be a steel worker, which. No, nothing against that. Both my parents were steel workers. All my friends were. But I hope, thankfully, I chose the other path.
Yeah, I think you chose the right one. But yeah, no, same for me. I think, you hear all these stories of NHL players when they're in grade 4 and the teacher asks what you want to be when you grow up, and you say NHL player, and they kind of laugh at you. But for a lot of us that are privileged to play in the NHL for a long time, I mean, that's truly what we wanted to be. You put your mind to it, you do the work, you're fortunate enough to be playing the game at a young age, and you go do it. And you don't really think of anything else, You hope that you're going to have this 20-year career, and then you'll figure it out after. So me, the only other thing, I mean, I played all different sports growing up. So if it wasn't, trying to pursue hockey, it was going to be trying to pursue baseball or something else as an athlete. That's just something I enjoyed doing. So,
I will say this, Stammer, and I'm sure that, you can talk on this, that I don't know in your era what it was, but I played every sport, right? I just didn't play hockey.
Yeah, you know what? I was the same way, and I tell you get asked about it from parents and stuff now as a professional athlete, and I still say the same thing. I played soccer, I played baseball, I played lacrosse in the summer. I mean, even if you look at all those sports, they help you in the game of hockey too. I mean, whether it's hand-eye coordination, whether it's conditioning. I mean, it was it was great. And now, like you said, it's just different now where kids focus on one sport. And if they don't focus on it, they feel like they're behind because everyone else is doing it. So
100%.
it's different now, but okay.
Yeah.
So that was a good question.